welcome back to the Dr. Stunderjet show here on the GONK King channel on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you once again for joining us wherever you are in the world. This is where we go every Sunday and do our layout, and this is the new layout for August if you had not seen it last week. But I've been trying to make these big long loop-de-loop looking things so you can drift. So this outer lane drifts upward to my right. So this side it drifts up on this lane. And wipes out. And on the other side, it is assisted by the guardrails on the outer lane. Thusly, that's the outer lane. Inner lane, drift upward. Outer lane, not exactly drifting. And this layout is a little tacky, but not sticky enough. So we are going to run these nice turn of the 70s Camaros, sometimes known as a chaparral, believe it or not. And these have special wheels and tires on them. I believe I've shown you before. This was the transitional period in the early 70s. Where the Camaro and the Firebird made by Pontiac adopted. They've always been the same anyway, really, but they shifted after the Yenko in '69 and then became the Chaparral you see here in '70, I believe. So this particular one is approximately a '73. And there was a company back in the day called AFX in the early 70s. And those are really cool because you didn't need a body screw for the cars. You could just change them out. So they had these little clips that went inside the body. And that's when the Camaro of the same design got really popular in the early 70s. And that was back when it was still called IROC, I believe, or NHRA, National Hot Rod Association from the early 70s. And then it became NASCAR. Well, I mean, NASCAR's always been around, but it was regional. National Dragsters, National Hot Rods. And so what they would do is they would use these, they call them stock cars. Nice! King Cobra 74 is back in the house.
Thank you so much.
Vielen Dank, meine Bruder. Wherever you are in the world, welcome. So if you have not seen this August layout, thank you for checking it out. We do this every week, unless we're out of town or something comes up. So we stream at about lunchtime, 12:30-ish our time here on the west coast of the United States. Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And then Sunday evening we do our layout here, and as the holidays progress, we'll have a layout here and also a layout where our tree goes that also has the trains on it. So we may have more than one track and train layout. And then the music On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we stream also at 8:30 p.m. So the schedule is inherently similar, except on Sundays we go a little earlier. That way Miss GK and myself can get a little rest. But thank you, wherever you are, for checking us out here on Twitch and YouTube. And it's really a trip to have had this hobby when I was a young lad. I mean, this hobby's existed in America. I mean, they've had them probably 100 years, 100 years-ish. And I want to say the Lionel, they used to make those trains with the 3 rails. And so they had slot cars of a type, but it was basically a car put over the top of the train. And you couldn't exactly race them unless you had a lot of that 3-rail track. And then you put the tracks right next to each other to simulate the old jalopies. Then again, cars have only been around since like 1910, right? I mean, really. Somebody might have had one here and there, 1902, whatever, but writ large, where everybody had one, Model T and the Model A by Ford. And then eventually there was Oldsmobile, and they were all individual companies after that. And then they put them all under one roof. General Motors, for example. Way back in the day, General Motors was Cadillac, Buick, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, and Chevy. Pretty much in that order. But there were other companies, obviously, like Hudson, way back in the day. In fact, there's still a restaurant out there called Hudson's Grill, and it's like the front end of this car, and then they had like this trunk assembly that you could actually, it was part of like a table, and you could sit in it like a rumble seat. That was your table. It was really cool.
So King Cobra says those little cars are very cool. My dad had the same in his basement. LOL.
Yes.
It's amazing how many people do recognize this hobby.
Well, so where I was going with that is that the HO scale was actually invented in England by a company called Playcraft way back in the day. And they had this car called the Vibrator, which was basically like this motor would arc and spark and move this reed up and down, which pushed a big barrel that had notches in it. And so if you knew how to modify those to a slight extent, they were okay. I mean, they weren't the fastest thing in the wide world, but they were pretty slick. And then in America, they were trying to plug that make and manufacturer. And so, lo and behold, the Aurora Plastic Company, West Hempstead, Long Island, New York, like 2 blocks from where my cousins lived back in the day. And they adopted that. So the first year or so of HO scale cars in America, I'm sure there was other companies, but for the most part, the Aurora company pretty much had the, how would you say that, I don't want to say the monopoly, because obviously other companies did come up, like Tyco, Elden, Matchbox even got in on it, and Matchbox, mind you, is an English company, so we've been talking about that. So, but the old Vibrator chassis, you can still get them, but they were replaced in approximately 1963, by Christmas of 1963, I want to say that's right. And the cars that they were replaced with were called Thunderjets, which these are inherently similar. The original Thunderjet, also known as the pancake motor, had 3 contacts, like triple phase, if that makes any sense. And so you have brushes, contact brushes inside the motor, and so where the contacts for the track makes contact, that pushes the motor around. And so depending on, once again, what kind of ohmage the motor is, or how they run or how they're lubed up. There's so many variables. It's like a real car, really. You've got air, electricity, and lubrication or fuel, you know. So some of the tricks of the trade, like we've been talking about, is using this elixir. And you can use it on the motor and the wheels, and it really lubes it up. Then you've got the good old trusty oil. I got one somewhere here. Yeah, where did that go? That's weird. This particular car I got now is a 68 Dodge Charger in Tor Red. It's kind of like orange, but like if you took tomato soup, that old recipe where you could thin it out with a little milk and it kind of looked orange, this is what the color is. Tor Red. And so obviously I'm very partial to these old Dodge Chargers. They changed them out in 68, 9, and 70. They're all the same. You know, they modified them a little bit, and there was a Charger 500 that came out in 69 that did not have headlamp doors. And then in 71, once again, the Charger and the Coronets and the Plymouth Roadrunner are all inherently similar. And that's what happened. So in 71, the Charger and the Roadrunner were kind of the same. And there was a Sebring and whatever, but they were the same car. And they were sharp, but not as sharp as the 68 through 70. Even there, the 1970 Roadrunner, sometimes known as a GTX, those were really sharp. And then they went to the Plymouth made a Roadrunner Superbird, and Dodge made a Daytona. And they used those to race for a couple of years. And so an example of that, I know I got one lurking here somewhere. Or maybe I don't. No, I do. I have a Richard Petty Plymouth Superbird, which looks like this. That's pretty spot on. If you look really carefully, there's a little tiny Roadrunner on the fin there in the back. And they used to call them arrow-winged warriors. So this Roadrunner is effectively a Superbird. The Charger is effectively a Daytona. Now, having said that, the Coronets in and of itself, although looking like a Dodge Charger, because they're all inherently similar. They would tweak like the front end, the lights might be different, whatever, but they're the same. And so the Plymouth GTX was always pretty sharp. But the Coronets, especially the 70, had two separate, like, I don't know, they look like triangles without the, you know, the top corner. And they made the light housings with those, so that also doubled as the bumper. And they were really sharp. And there's that, which I've talked about a couple of times. If you have not heard of them, I highly recommend checking it out. Nick's Garage. And what you do is you look in the YouTube for Nick's Garage, and then just put like a car. You know, so if you wanted a, you know, Nick's Garage Camaro, you could probably find a video where he's working on Camaros, but they work on Mopar mostly, which is Plymouth and Dodge and, you know, Chrysler et al. So, for example, a 1970 Fury is the same body as a Dodge Polara and a New Yorker Imperial. I mean, the 72 Imperial is just gorgeous. That thing's a... I mean, Cadillacs and Lincoln Continentals are pretty sharp, but the Imperial pretty much any year, but that early 70s, forget it. And the Plymouth Fury, for example, that doubled as the, how would you say that? You're a business person, you're on your way up the corporate ladder and all that stuff. And so you would get a really sharp car that, you know, it made you look kind of cool, and at the same time it was practical, and but you could be cool and like wipe out and, you know, race with the youngsters and things like that. There's a commercial of it somewhere where the 1970 Fury is not racing, but it's they're acting as though it's taking off at the airport, so it's running down the runway. I don't know how they did that with the aircraft going on, but that was pretty cool. And the other really sharp car of that period was the Chrysler 300. 1970 Chrysler 300 Hearst is probably one of the coolest cars like ever. And I always forget the name of it, but there's a Dodge Polara and there's a Dodge Monaco. That's the one. Any of the early 70s Dodge Monacos, those are gorgeous. And that was the period of headlamp doors, they call them. So it's like literally like a little door, and it opens up like a garage door, and the lights come on. It's like brilliant. And when the lights were off, it was really sharp. It looked really cool.
That one looks fast.
Yes, this Richard Petty car runs pretty good. Now this particular layout, Miss GK and I always try to come up with a skill level. And this is like a 3 or 4, but it's not really designed for speed. So this Richard Petty Plymouth Superbird can only go so fast. Having said that, I do have a 1968 Roadrunner that would look like what Richard Petty had in 1968, which is this guy right here. The numbers are all chewed up, but that's about right. Roadrunner, really sharp. So once again, the Plymouth Roadrunner is the Plymouth equivalent of like a Charger or a Coronet, if that makes any sense. They were called B-bodies, I believe that's right. Don't forget, you can pick a car, and you can pick a lane, and you can even get an opponent to help you race. And Miss GK and I will do the best we can to facilitate a race. And we can also change out what I like to call trick track. And we can do that live and direct right here, like surgery. You just pull out one of the straights and put a trick track, like a cobblestone track or a crisscross track or a double cross, you know, squeeze track. Those are really cool. And although I had other years, or I did the best I could to emulate those special Richard Petty cars from back in the day. And I don't use this guy often, but it's pretty sharp. This is the equivalent of probably the only year that Richard Petty did not operate either an Oldsmobile, a Chevy, or a Plymouth. This is a Ford Torino from 1969, and it's pretty sharp. And this is what I was telling you about. You can actually see the nuts, the lug nuts on the wheels. It's pretty cool. So this Ford product is actually pretty quick. And it's interesting, it's like Miss GK and I talk about it all the time. Every car has like its own little soul. So they're either slow or they're fast or they're really quick or they're crazy.
Stubborn.
Crazy, stubborn, yes. You gotta clean them up every time. Rev them up for a while. I did say that there's a couple of companies out there that actually make not every single car that Richard Petty had, but close to. So you can get like a 57 Oldsmobile. Pretty sure that's right. One of the companies is called MEV, and I think they're still around. And they make special bodies like that generally would not exist even back in folklore. And so you can get like a D Jaguar, which is pretty rare. D Jaguar, C Jaguar. I got pretty much one of each of those. And the XKE, of course. Lots of companies tried to make an XKE over the years because that is pretty much one of the most iconic vehicles ever, really. I mean, everybody knows about the XKE. But the D, to actually have a real D Jaguar, let alone like an Aston Martin Zagato, forget it. That's a $1 million concern just to show up. That's right, you pick the car, you pick the lane, and we can facilitate a race for you. Now this is a Pontiac Judge, sometimes known as a GTO, but they changed them out in '68, so that period, the bodies were all the same. The Cutlass by Oldsmobile, the Monte Carlo by Chevy, and this guy, and there's a couple of them, the Buick Skylark. I think there's another one, it's not coming to mind. Oh, the Chevelle, duh. Believe it or not, Monte Carlo and a Chevelle are one and the same. They just have different num-nums on them. I had a relative that had a, I want to say a 70, I believe it was, 70 Monte Carlo, and that thing was gorgeous. It was like a really deep brown, sometimes known as saddle bronze metallic. And it was a very brownish, with the gold sparkles in it. And it had a white interior and like a tan roof, and that thing was gorgeous. And it was, when they were making vinyl roofs, they had different cuts for them. Like you could actually get one that just went over the back, like where the back windows are. They used to call them opera lights, opera windows. Or you could get like a full vinyl roof with the metal trim that held it on. It was really nice. And so the Monte Carlo was something like that. Really nice. Now, a very rare car, I think you probably still get them, but when Chrysler changed out its bodies at the hub of the mid-70s, I mean, they literally changed them all. There was like maybe 1 year, 74, I want to say, where they had like only 1 year of the platform. So it was like whatever was available, that was it. And then 75, I think it was, the Fury, the Dodge Magnum, and then there was a car called the Chrysler Cordoba, which was really, those were gorgeous. My dad had a Chrysler Cordoba. Back in the day, it was the same kind of thing. It was a really deep metallic brown, and it had basket type spoke wheels, and it had these really nice tan leather seats, and then it had a, I want to say a half skirt vinyl top, and that thing was just gorgeous. And all those stories of watching my dad clean the car out on Saturday afternoon so he could take my mom, you know, the mommy and daddy stuff, take a little break from the family. Yeah, like the story of the Ford Galaxy 500. The 65, 6, and 7 were inherently similar. And the 66 Galaxy, you could get an option called the 7-liter, and that thing was just gorgeous. And there's that, and the Mercury equivalent was known as a Comet or a Cyclone, and so they were inherently similar. And then the Cyclone was like a Torino for a year or so. Then the Torino and the Cyclone totally changed out in 70, I think it was. But those 65, 6, and 7 Galaxy 500s were just gorgeous. And in 68, they came out with the LTD. And so it was effectively a XL 500 Ford Galaxy 500 fastback, but it also had like a shorter front end slightly, but it had headlamp doors, and you could get those. And so it ironically enough, it was a hybrid. It looked like somewhere between a Torino and a Galaxy. They were just gorgeous. And I think the Mercury variant was called a Grand Marquis. Those were pretty sweet back in the day. Mercury Montclair, maybe. And that's literally back in the day. I mean, it was this. They were the same cars. The bodies were the same, but they would tweak them. So the bumper might be a little different, or the lights might be a little different, or the trim, thusly molding, M-O-U-L-D-I-N-G. And you would have like a stripe on the side or something like that. So those 68 LTD, you can picture that in like a metallic black with like a red stripe. They were just gorgeous. They had like these really small pinstripes and maybe one or two nice big stripes on the hood or something. They were just gorgeous. I had seen that the other day, and I was showing Miss GK last night. There's this guy that had a 69 Mach 1, like Eleanor, on the back of a trailer or whatever. He was probably buying it or moving it or taking it somewhere, or selling it, wherever he was doing with it. And so I've always been partial to those old Mustangs as well, which I got a few of them. And I actually saw a nice red Mustang Vert earlier, which I sent Miss GK an image of. It was nice. And unfortunately, too, a lot of these cars I have, although I did acquire a few, I don't want to change them all out straight away, because when they go bad, they go bad. But I've had to replace a lot of the guide pins, they call them. Here goes a 68 Mercury Cougar, which is a glorified Mustang, really. But the pins, when the pins go bad, they wear out on the sides, so after a time they don't stay in the slot at all. They just fall right out because there's nothing to hold them on, really. Don't forget, if you would like to race, or you would like to change out some track, or you would like to ask questions or run a specific car, we can do that for you. I got a few Cougars, got a few Mustangs, got a lot of Chargers, got a few Challengers, and I got a few Barracudas. I've even got some Vets, dune buggies, chaparrals, GTOs of several years on the row. I've also got a few Cobra Daytonas, which I had marked up. You know, like back in the day, all those racing, and after a time, what they would do is, like the Can-Am period, they would have similar cars, kind of like NASCAR. So a couple of people had, you know, Chargers, and a couple of people had Furies, or whatever the car was. And so you can picture like a French team and an Italian team and a German team and an American team running these Cobra Daytonas, and they're really gorgeous. And there was somebody not long ago, I had seen the car around, and it was like a burnished red, like a burgundy Cobra Daytona, and it was just gorgeous. I mean, the real thing with like a 289. Thank you, Mr. Shelby. Once again, this layout, it's not difficult to make, but they're very tedious. So you've got a 6-inch, then you got 9s, then you got 12, and then 15, and the same thing backwards over here. And you've got these 12s to offset, because you can't just go straight. There's not enough room on the table to get it, you know, just right. Now, I had thought about modifying this, but I was like, eh. And that way you can take a similar design and make something else out of it, like so. Have this come across and put like an intersection in the middle or something, or have the bank turn so you can really get some speed. It's the sky's the limit, as they say. Your imagination is the only setback. Bust out on this Cobra Daytona. A lot of the decals have long since come off, but that's about what they looked like. It was a very long, it's hard to explain it. It's kind of like a glorified GT40, but slightly modified. And they were really cool. So these longer cars, the longer bodies, they drift a little better because they're longer, right? Yep, and I did say that. I had 4 of these. This is the American one. It was the French one that I was running on or about the holidays, this last holidays, when our good elves got us this board to make this layout on. And I was going around with it, and, you know, there's probably still a couple of cars that haven't landed yet. Anyway, so it came around and the body hit the floor and it just broke. So it's hard to save them after that. Now, this is an actual GT40 from about 1966-ish, the ones that won Le Mans, right? GT40. And the reason they call them that is it's 40 inches from the deck to the roof. And these things are just really, really crazy sharp. Yeah, check it. Look at the footage for 1966 Le Mans, or any of the Ford versus Ferrari, or stories about Mr. Shelby, because he helped design this. And the Ford GT, aka GT40, and other versions of it, like there's the Mach 4, which was really popular in 68, I think, and it also won Le Mans, I believe that's right. And they're all about the same. In fact, that MEV company I was telling you about, I think they used to make Mark 4s. They're really nice. Yeah, so doing the research last night for 69 Mach 1, I had come across a hybrid of a GT40 and a 69 Mach 1. It was just the craziest thing I'd ever seen. It was just gorgeous. And it was made in like, not stainless, but like the body was chrome. Like brushed aluminum or something. It was just the craziest thing I'd ever seen, but it was just so nice. I think the front end was a Mach 1 and the back was a GT40. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, thank you. King Cobra's in the house. King Cobra was in there watching us earlier, and I would have to say, with a few exceptions, when he comes to see us, that's one of his happy places. He really enjoys the show, which it makes me happy. Because we've been streaming off and on for, I don't know, 6 years, basically since the virus period. And we were on a platform with a lot of our buddies way back in the day, and then one day they didn't exist anymore. I was like, oh, that was weird. So we kind of went on our own, and we went on Twitch and YouTube and whatever, and now we were displaced for about a year and a half, but we've been doing this now, streaming either cars or music, probably for about a year. Yes. Thank you, King Cobra, for hanging with us, brother. It's an honor. Welcome to the classroom. I mean, chat room. Yep, gotta lube these up from time to time, or they don't run so well. A little bit by the wheels, a little bit by the motor, and kind of shake it off with the power pack here. Because you don't want to actually get it in the motor, or you'll definitely cook the motor. It's not cool. With a little bit of elixir on the back wheels, suddenly you've increased your HO scale horsepower to, I don't know, 600 miles per hour by scale. These are pretty quick. Yeah, that's how you do it. I don't know if you saw that. It was a complete drift all the way up. Heck yeah. Time to get the other 40 going here. I like doing that from time to time. And you have more than one car in the same lane. About halfway. And it looks like a real rig. Now, last week we were talking about impedance. And so to impede something is to kind of slow it down or add resistance to it. And so the lower the impedance on these motors, the faster they go. So as a lesson, the white GT40 is a little faster than the red one because either the motor is wired different or, you know, lubrication and so on. Now, moving right along, and I've shown this before, this is probably the best AC Cobra I have. AC Cobra was a company, Allard and Cooper, and so you can actually see these cars in real time, made by Allard. And so it was like a hybrid, like, you know, where two companies work together, like that Aston Martin Segato I was telling you about is actually a English and Italian design. But this is an example of an AC Cobra, which Mr. Shelby also had something to do with. And so this is marked for Great Britain. So I have a few of these as well for like racing purposes. We have a German one. I think I got a French one, an Italian one, and this English one. I'm sorry, American. And this one's pretty quick. High speed, low drag, no impedance. Yeah, there's just something about being able to drift. And speaking of which, I'm probably going to have to go to the other lane here, which I'm going to do now, because these controllers get hot after a time. So, the scenario is totally backwards. Oops, hello, that's not good. So this is the drift side up on this lane, and the other side is the guardrail assisted version. Yeah, there's just something about that drifting. That's a trip. To actually have the real function of a car in real time, in real life even. So it goes without saying, the longer the car, the more drifting you could probably do. And a bigger car, like if you had a Roadrunner from back in the day, or a Fury, or even a Duster, E-bodies I believe they were. That's weird. There it is. Because they're longer, they would drift really well. And at the same time, they would overcompensate and literally spin out, and thusly spin around, and not function properly because they're too long, right? Whereas these medium-sized cars are just about right. In fact, this AC Cobra is more like a 1/64th, but to be honest, the HO goes from 187 to 1/64th, and anything big, or the smaller the number, the bigger the car, obviously, bigger the vehicle. Like model size is like 1/25th. The 143s were like the motorifics. They're about, I don't know, like yay big. And something's wrong with this guy for some reason. He's a little lube or something. Tweak the contacts, see if we can get anything out of it here.
Good emote. It says love this.
Heck yeah. I love it too. That's why I'm still messing about with these 60 years later.
It's a great hobby.
Yes, it is. Miss GK, months and months ago, we had footage from a layout where we once stayed at before we were displaced. And we had it set up to where it looked like, you know, something familiar. you know, Anytown, USA or whatever, right? And I had the layout in such a way that it looked like the cars would be going through town. I had 67 Thunderbird going through, but it looked like kind of like a nighttime scenario. And I had these special lights. They were like LEDs. And if you get one of those now, they're really expensive. But these were just, they were like $10 for a set of them. And it's just 2 wires that goes to like a little power pack thing, and you plug it in, and you can slide the lights that are on it around and, you know, spread them out or whatever you want to do. And so they have like these faux street lamps that you can, you know, you can put, how would you say that, like telephone poles. And so you run these wires with the lights on them on the telephone poles that are stuck in the track at various points. And so you can either drill them in or, like, you know, bolt them in with a nail or whatever, or a bolt even. And it's really a trip. And so we had that lit up, and it looked like nighttime, you know, and then the train would go by. You know, it's really cool. So once again, your imagination is the limit.
It was very cool.
Yes. This is a Ferrari 250. And this is a Ferrari 275. And these are pretty cool. So in the sense of like Le Mans, this would have been a car that was something to beat back in the day, was Ferraris, because they were just that good. Not only were they really good and fast, but they were just gorgeous, you know. There's so many Italian cars from back in the day that are so iconic. And then you have something like an Aston Martin Zagato or a DB5, DB4, DB5. They're like, I said that, it's, if you can find an Aston Martin Zagato for less than like $1 million, you're really lucky. And they always had really nice colors like that, like a powder blue metallic something, and they were just gorgeous. They're gorgeous. And there's something about that sound when you fire up a, you know, Lamborghini or a Maserati or a Ferrari, right? Or any of the hybrids. But there was so many other cars, you know, Alfa Romeo, for example. They had some gorgeous cars too. In fact, I had seen a Maserati earlier, and they were, it looked like a Jaguar to me, really. I mean, it's the same kind of, you know. Now, the Maserati 250, or that's not quite fair, 2500 I think it is, or 3500. And they actually made slot cars out of that for a spell, and you can picture those racing in those long enduro races in, like, oh, what is that, Tunisia or something, like all those desert racing. You're in the middle of nowhere, but there's a race course, you know. Oh, see, I'm going to be trying to remember where that is. You know, like Morocco. All those races they would have in Morocco. Morocco. Let's go. Heck yeah. .275 runs a little better. There was one time this 275 had bigger wheels on it. And so what I did was I superimposed an image of like Spain or Italy with a track, with a piece of track with a guardrail on it. And it looked real. And it was like a, I don't know, like sunset in, you know, like Sicily or something, you know, with the water in the background, and it was this gorgeous 275, and it looked real. Those were the days. I think I told you that last week, of the fake drive-in movie scenario that I had. And I actually did it on the dryer, so it was as flat as you could get. There was no shadows or anything. And so I used the iPad and had that iconic intermission thing where they would have like a soda and a thing of French fries dancing around to incite you to go get a pretzel at the snack bar or a soda or whatever, right? And I think the only other film that I remember in the last 20 years or so, it's probably longer than that now, was this film where they were trying to emulate like an old martial arts movie. And sure enough, the characters were like, "Go get some candy." How many miles would you say you've got to go here? Would you say 10 million? I don't think 10 million. Go to the snack bar and get yourself some non-dairy liquid. Or a carbonated soda. I command you. So, but yeah, that was a really good image. And I had a couple of GTOs and a Corvette, and it looked real. It looked like people went to the drive-in in the 60s, the 50s and 60s. That was a new thing, was to go to the drive-in movies in the summertime, and they would have like this speaker that you put in the window and close the window, and then you could hear it. And then they went to using your radio to get the station that was simulcasting, they used to call it, the sound for the movie. And so if you had a bunch of people with their speakers going, you could hear it. You could hear it all the way through the drive-in area. You could just watch, you know, whatever it is. Those are the days. Yep. I like this 275, but he definitely needs a new pin. That and just wear and tear. Like if you have a layout set up just from running it, it'll push and pull, and we call it rail click. So the rails where it meets the next set of tracks. I mean, what you want to do is your flow of traffic, you want to have the next track just slightly lower than the current one, and so on. So if you've got like, say, this has probably got 40 pieces of track on it. In other words, every track in front of the previous piece of track, if it's slightly lower, you will not have any rail click. But just from running them, depending on the temperament, you know, whether the rails are good, you know, you have to bend them back into shape, whatever it is, you can avoid having rail click. Because one bad thing about rail click too is that the pickup shoes, they're called, the things that make contact with the rails in the track, thusly slot cars, having any kind of rail click after a time will just tear up those contacts and they won't run right. You have to get spares, or sometimes you can not make them backwards, but you can change them around, like the left becomes the right and the right becomes the left and so on, and that sometimes improves. Or you can go with the old standby, which I just did moments ago, and you can find really good emery board, like, you know, for your nails, but not exactly for your nails. And you can get fine ones, you can get medium ones, and you can get really coarse ones. And you just take the pickup shoe off the car outright, and don't forget to be careful so you don't lose the spring, because if you lose the spring, you're going to be searching for that for quite a time. Especially if you have like carpet, forget it. It's gone. And then you'll vacuum something up one day and you'll hear this metallic cha-ching when it gets pulled up in the vacuum, and you'll wonder what that is. Anyway, cleaning these up from time to time. And we used to have videos of that somewhere, Dr. Stunderjet, of doing surgery on the cars. And you literally take it apart from top to bottom. You clean out the body with like a model brush and some good soapy water. You know, like to wash your dishes with. Nothing really heavy because you don't want to mess up the plastic complement. Now, if you go to clean these up to, like, say, paint them, you got to obviously make sure that they're dry and so on. And obviously, you can still get kits to build, like these Roadrunners we were talking about. So a lot of my Roadrunners are missing parts or whatever because that's when we were displaced. So bumpers and whatever, they're missing the glass. But obviously these are designed to be painted out. They're not like glow in the dark or anything. So this is a GTX that I was going to make. Well, it's like partially done, but also, like I was saying, the bumpers and that are missing. It's a lot of fun having a hobby like this. Using your thumbs for something else was a catchphrase we made up for a thing we were going to do back in the day, but just making sure that people are aware of it. So instead of playing video games all day or, you know, having nothing to do, you get your little club together and build some track and race. So we were talking about that last week too. There's a couple of companies, I believe, where the radius turns are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. So that's literally 12 lanes if you set it up right. If you set it up correctly. You can have 12 people operate a track.
I didn't know that.
Oh, sure.
New information.
Well, for example, this particular type, the smallest one is 6 inches, and the biggest one is 15. So it's 6, 9, 12, and 15. So that's 8 lanes, if that makes any sense. And one of these days we'll do that. I'll just wire up the older school. They were called rheostat. And the current went through it and created a closed circuit which would send a limited amount of electricity to the cars. So you can set them up and they look like a little steering wheel. And you can just set it up to where it'll, you know, it just goes around by itself, really. And then you can just race against it. It's really a trip. And that function Miss GK and I used to do, we would come up, you know, like, we actually have a bunch of layouts staged, and you take them to, like, you know, a school event or something where there's like a big gymnasium, and you just set them up with a bunch of tables and you're good to go. And we had this really long one that was 3 sections of 4-foot track. So if you take a regular sized piece of plywood like this is a 4x8, and so you cut it to where you have 3 pieces of wood, and then you stick them long ways. That's 12 feet. And so you set that up with some bank turns, man, and I'll tell you what, you get the fastest cars you can, because that thing's going to be really fast and a lot of fun. Sure, it kind of gets boring after a time, but not specifically, because there's always something to fix, or something like you want to cycle your cars to make sure they run, you know? Stuff like that.
track design.
Make a new track, yep.
There's so much to this hobby.
I remember a few Christmases ago, in fact it's 12 years coming up now, and our good elves gave some equipment to some of our relatives, and I would like to say a good friend of mine helped in that prospect, and I gave different designs and what type of track to use, how long it's going to be, and so on. And he set it up, and I said, whatever you do, show this to your mom, but set it all up first, and play a certain holiday tune or whatever it was. And he reported back that it was hugely effective. And of course, we've always been partial to these, and I had some mixed reviews. Most of the persons that we gave them to were kind of blown away and like, hey, that's really cool. That was very thoughtful. But there's always a car in the fart load. And they were a little put out by that prospect because they wanted to know where the funding came from. I was like, does it matter? Anyway, this is a 67 ragtop Corvette, which runs pretty good. One of the things that can be done as well, I don't have any really good examples, but if you have the special wheels and tires we were talking about, and you do what is known as a lowering of the body, like way back in the day, what people would do is they would get like a fishing knife or an X-Acto knife or something like that, notwithstanding cutting the heck out of your hands, and they would open up the wheel well area so you could put bigger wheels on them, and it was just crazy. So they would have like these really big wheels on these little cars, and it looked kind of hokey, but they ran better because it would never flip over. They were just huge, right? So having a Corvette like this with the holes, the wheel wells all routed out for bigger tires. Anyway, have a Mako Shark Corvette here somewhere, and that only came out one year. It was the predecessor of the Stingray. I mean, there's always been a Stingray per se, but when it was called a Corvette Stingray outright was the hub of 71. Same thing, like the Corvette had its evolutionary periods like the Mustang, but they were effectively similar, you know? Like the 63 split window Corvette, I mean, those were just gorgeous. Some of the first cars that had fiberglass bodies or aluminum, which makes them really, really light, and you've got like a 350, Rocket 350 or a 454 or a 327 or whatever the Vette motor was that had fuel injection, which was the first of its type, where it was like not computerized just yet, but it was a special thing that shot the air and fuel mixture that made it more efficient, and so they ran really, really well. Especially that song about Shutdown, one of my favorites. I have a song about cars.
So King Cobra 74 says, cool stuff seeing while I play around developing an AI.
Oh, nice.
What kinds of things are you working on? Video, images, stills. I mean, I guess it's more video anyway, isn't it? I mean, the multitude of things. It's opening up.
A certain reader has found a niche in that, yes.
Everything. So, would you tell them the story about the laundry showcase?
The laundry showcase.
Yeah.
Well, what we used to do when we were on that other platform is we would try to stream to where we would hit pretty much everybody we knew all around the world. Like, so we had, dare I say it, peeps and boys pretty much all around. Hong Kong, Japan. I think we had some peeps in Thailand, Philippines mostly, Canada, England, Germany, Holland, Brazil, Argentina. And so in the morning time for them was like 5 o'clock-ish in the evening time, our time. I want to say that's right. And sometimes we'd go backwards. Like we would go really early in the morning, which would be like party time for them overseas. And they used to call it the laundry showcase. And so we would get, images of food we made and have this thing where it visually looked like a breakfast. We had donuts or whatever it was, and people would come and go, "Oh, that's nice. Where's the sangag?" And I'd be like, "Oh, hindi pa luto, not cooked yet."
But it's like people, coming and just hanging. Whatever they're doing, whether it's a laundry or doing creative content or,
Yes.
just people coming and hanging out.
And so they would
have
have us.
A place to come, and that was part of our idea of putting the channel together.
Yes, and they would have us in the background while they were doing their laundry. That was the point of that.
Macy Ray, she goes and has lunch. The lurkers,
The lurkers. Got to have the lurkers. Having them lurkers.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to recognize this hobby. Amazing how many households it's impacted. So it's kind of like a new way of trying to just do something on a big scale with it and share it.
2 seconds, folks. I got tangled up here.
I think for the most part it's relaxing, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Especially once you get it done, like I was talking about around the holidays, for example, it's really nice
Yeah, totally.
to just have all your lights on and your tree,
And then the trains,
and then
too.
the trains are going around, and then you got cars. And mind you, there are tracks that actually help connect to trains, so you can have like your train going around. That's what I was talking about earlier. So you have your little town scenario with like all those little buildings. You can actually get buildings, or you can get like the ones that that are like ceramic or something, and they've got like fake snow on them already, and you can get the fabric. They used to have this fabric that was like it literally looked like snow. Like the light would hit it just right, and it was all sparkly. And you know, when it's freshly snowed, and then the sun comes out, it's just this. They look like diamonds, you know. And so to have something like that, and they used to have this stuff, or you could probably, you know, make your own, but like to where it would like look like smoke coming out of the chimney kind of thing. So there's so many things you can do. In fact, I actually have an HO scale manger scene, which I was really proud of. I made it out of, you know, like little tiny twigs, and, you know, you're emulating trees without leaves on them because it's winter time, right? And you can put, you know, like lights in those little buildings, and then you wire it up through the bottom of your board. Now, if you have a freestanding board with like 2x4s holding it up, it's actually easier. Then you just drill a bunch of holes. And then if you get like 1/4-inch plywood, which is effectively the same height as these tracks, everything is flush, so it looks like a town or a city, you know, when you're going through the town and there's buildings and everything's lit up. To the extent, mind you, of those, the little necklaces that the kids will have around the holidays that blink, and they have a couple of different functions on them. And you can get like fake pine trees that are, you know, they're good for all year round, or you can set up like a mountain scene and just have a couple of trees with those lights on. It's actually quite brilliant, and it looks pretty legit. Time to get some Mustangs. So this is the equivalent of a 65, I believe is when the 2+2 aka Fastback first came out. As opposed to the original 64.5 aka Notchback. Or you could just liken it to calling it a Mustang, and then the Fastback is the variant, right? Or the convertible. Yep, so there's this magic thing called the eBay, and all you got to do is look up HO scale slot cars and HO scale trains, and you will find thousands of things, like these old school tracks that had these pins and these plastic things that connected the track together. And so if you know how to use them, you know, these things they're almost bomb-proof. Like, the house could burn down and you would still find track in good shape. Sorry, not making light of a disaster. This is an actual original version of this car. As you can tell, it's kind of worn out. So this is probably, if I had to hazard a guess, they probably started making these about 60 years ago, which would be 1966. Thank you, Revolver. So, but this particular one, it's probably at least that old. I would say not older than that, but if I had to hazard a guess, this probably came out in the, I think they made these all the way up through the 70s as like an option, because they started to branch out and make other ones, like the G Plus, for example. And I want to suggest that was the first one where they went from the motor, which spun vertically, if you would, to a motor that went horizontal, which was directly tied to the axle at the back. So they were just inherently faster, and they also had special magnets that held them down on the track. And those things were like insanely fast. And you can still find those as well. Now, there are companies that are making these chassis and stuff still. And one of them, the name escapes me right away, but they have magnet-assisted chassis these days. So you have the best of both worlds. You know, it's not wipeout proof, but close to. And I will show you here in a sec. Mr. Speed Racer, we know. This is the magnets that helps it stay, it gives you better traction. So these guys run pretty well because of that magnet. Yes, yes, it is too fast. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. Thank you, King Cobra, for being our bestest buddy and coming to our stream earlier. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we stream music also. Those of you that only come around on Sunday night just to hear the old stories. And being able to stream music is really good. So what we have done is that we do, this is our Challenger, by the way, with special wheels on. It's gorgeous. All of our material is on a iPad. And there's a app, a program, if you would, in the iPad called GarageBand. And you can record and play whatever you'd like. I mean, if you're a multi-instrumentalist kind of person, you can play horns and reeds and piano and whatever, right? There's a way to record all that, and it actually sounds pretty good if you know what you're doing. It takes a couple of times to learn how to do it. But I've been making music with an iPad for 13 years now. Thank you, Miss GK, for turning me on to that. And so the iPad is my backing track, my band, if you would. So whatever you hear, drums, guitar, bass, whatever, singing, that's all me making those. We don't use drum tracks or anything like that. It's actually a really good, talk about having a good hobby. It's good to be able to make the music, and that's what gave us the impetus to make our own songs and albums. And there's a bit of a process, but Miss GK got all that dialed in, and we've got 3 albums out and a bunch of singles, which is, you know, it may not sound like a lot, but it's actually a labor of love. Once again, it's quite a bit of work. Now, the issue that we face where we stay at is there's not really too many places to play, but we got very lucky, and we play a show in precisely 2 weeks and about 6 hours ago. 2 weeks from now, on the 23rd, we will be playing a live show in public where they They have a pillory and they throw tomatoes and it's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah, this Challenger runs pretty good. The old Kowalski Challenger from a film called The Vanishing Point, about 1970. It was one of those Chase the Suitcase movies. All those Smokey and the Bandit and things like that, where they're following the bad guys or the good guys, right? That's something else that Nick's Garage, if you look at Nick's Garage, and he actually does these videos, and he's got one his own, and he's also got a newer one, and he talks about the difference between them, but they resurrected an old Dodge Challenger with a 446 barrel. I mean, it's crazy. And I told you that they actually have like GoPros or whatever it is, and they actually film the motor, and all the little doohickeys are opening up and, you know, moving around. It's crazy. Like the carburetor, that's it. And so a 6-barrel, which is a Plymouth, as opposed to a 6-pack, which is a Dodge. Don't get them confused. He would ride around in these things once they get them fixed. And you can see the little doors opening up so the fuel and air goes through. And there's six of them. So you're talking about a three-headed, like 2-barrel. So it's 3 sets of 2 barrels on the row. And it's just the coolest thing. There was one where he had I think it was a Roadrunner. It was like a special Roadrunner with a 446 barrel. And that was just the coolest thing, watching this motor do its thing all day long. And he just, you know, he test drives them and makes sure everything runs once they fix them. But it's really fascinating to watch, you know, a car like that in real life. And once in a while he'll have one of the boats. Had a 69 Fury on there a couple of times. 71, I think. I think writ large, probably the coolest Fury from back in the day, because they're all kind of cool, really. I think the Fury, it first came out literally 70 years ago in 1956. But it looked like a lot of the cars at the time, they were just less fat looking, if that makes any sense. They were really big and weird and bulky and rounded. And they were just sharper, but by like 57, the 57 and 58 Plymouth Fury, those things were just insanely gorgeous. And they had these fins, the cars that had fins back in the day. Anyway, 1970 Plymouth Fury with a special ratio in the drivetrain and special gears in the shifting box with like a 446 barrel, cold air package, forget it. Those things are just like that Chrysler 300 I was telling you about. They're just insanely gorgeous. Two-tone, gold and white, whatever it was. They were just insanely beautiful. Yep, like burnished red. A burnished red Fury with a tan top and a tan interior, like a tan rug, everything tan. It's just gorgeous, man. And burnished red is like where red becomes purple, like so deeper than a cranberry, but you know, not quite as deep as burgundy. It's hard to explain that. This would be close to a burnished red. And some of those colors have obviously made a comeback, like this Challenger. I don't know exactly what that is. It's like a lime green, solid color. So it's not metallic, but you can get cars and Jeeps and whatever with that color. There's a variant of burnished red on a lot of the newer cars. But they make them to where like the whole body's the same color, so there's no chrome or trim or gold or anything that offsets it. And then another really charming color is B7 blue, which is sometimes known as Jamaica blue. So it's not as deep as like a midnight blue, but it's more like, I don't know, like if you went to the beach to where when you're looking in the water it starts to get bluer, so it would be somewhat deep. It's something like that. But it looks like it's different colors. So if you're next to it, it seems really dark, but if you come back and come away from it a little bit, it's more like something like this. It's a very pretty blue. And once again, thank you for hanging out with us here on this beautiful Sunday evening here in the United States, West Coast time. And of late it's been very hot and will have rain either in the middle of the night or just for a little bit during the day, and it kind of cools everything down, but it's still pretty toasty out there. In fact, this summer has been a little toasty for my liking. Then again, a lot of the world has been really hot, like Europe has been really bad. Was it last year or the year before? It was so bloody hot that stuff would just blow up. Like Spain, British Columbia, I was thinking a year or so ago, which is Canada. It's like freezing up in Canada. But it was so hot, it was like, what do they call that? Where the flash point, just spontaneous combustion. It doesn't matter what it is, it's just going to get so hot. Like you had a Fresnel lens, pointed at something with the sun coming down. It'll actually make a hole in the pavement if you do it right. Got quite a few chargers. This particular one is a 69, and they have really come through with how original they kind of look. They look like an old charger from the late 60s. And I believe it's this one. I forgot when this came out exactly, but you would really have to focus. But they've got the stripe, the two stripes in 68, one stripe in 69. But if you look really carefully, it actually says charger. And this would have been a vinyl top with the red. And then this is, emulating the chrome, the trim that went all the way around. It's gorgeous. Gotta find a special magnifying glass. You can see those details.
Need better cans too.
Yeah. Well, to actually have a GTX that says GTX on it would be helpful. Now you might actually be able to hear that. Some of these cars, when you go up, when you're drifting, you can actually hear the tires squealing. Boss. Well, older cars writ large, but older slot cars more specifically. But older cars, if you just think of something and look it up on the YouTube. Like when we were looking at 69 Mach 1s, Miss GK and I, the other night, it just went on and on and on, and they're just gorgeous.
They were really pretty.
As opposed to the 71. The 71 was really long, and it made its debut for people to see, you know, like where there's a story or a film or a TV show where there's a, like the old Starsky and Hutch had those big poofy Torinos from the early 70s, and it was red and white, and they could just put the police light on and it was magnetic and it would just turn on, you know. But the 71, it was a James Bond film. I want to say Diamonds Are Forever. And there's a scene where somehow James Bond he's trying to get away from the bad guys. And he finds this 71 Mach 1. And he's, you know, like, we're meant to suggest it's probably stunt drivers back in the day. But he was going on two wheels and going through traffic and stuff. It was really cool. So, but that was a big, long Mustang for its day. And in the hub of the mid-70s, they went to what they called the Mustang II, which was kind of like an original Mustang, but a little smaller, I think. Because I said that they took the Mustang and made it longer and heavier and bigger and fatter as it went along. And so the 71 was probably the most, and this was like a stock 71 they had in that film, but it was just gorgeous going around. The 68 and 69 were pretty sharp years, but everybody knows that film Bullet with Steve McQueen, and he had a 68. It's actually just a Mustang, but because there was a couple of different Mustangs you could get, obviously notchback and the fastback and convertible. But they called them different things. Like you get a Mach 1, and it probably had a 351 Windsor or something like that, or a Cleveland. Or you could get it was called a 302 Boss or something like that. So there was different versions of like a Mach 1, but they were effectively the same. In fact, Miss GK has a slot car that is effectively a Mach 1. But the 69 was just that much sharper. So it had the charm and the sleekness of an original fastback, but that's when they started to change. And they became larger and longer after that.
Soda Bomb 02.
Oh wow! Todo bom! Boa noite!
Welcome, it's been a long time.
Our buddy Todo Bom from Brazil is in the house.
Welcome, it's been a long time.
Yes, it has been a long time. And he just said good evening from Brazil. Água de beber, água de beber, carnal. Água de beber, água de beber, carnal. Sim, muito tempo. Good times, heck yeah. We know Buenahuite, we know todo bom from our buddy, Mr. Jorge, but we know him better as Gigi. And Gigi is one of the finest musicians I've ever known. Not only can he play the heck out of the drums, but he can also play guitar and I think saxophone, a couple other things. He's really out there. Yes, yes. Saudades de voces de Gigi drummer, heck yeah. Bateria. What's cool about that word, bateria, it's kind of like saying battery, but in the sense of that, like if you were to bat something or bat somebody around, you don't exactly use a bat, but you're using your fists. So, thusly the term bateria, being a drummer, you're literally drumming somebody when you get accused of battery, you know, fisticuffs and all that stuff. So, it's also called bateria in France, believe it or not. Like my hero Joe Jones, that used to play for Count Basie. There's footage of him somewhere from 1957, and he was playing all the stuff that the people in the 70s were playing before they were even born. He was in there playing that. Obedies and stuff. Just jamming. Legal ese nuevo proyecto de Autorama. Sure it is. ¿Cómo se dice? Slot cars. And you just have the carrera. Got a couple of different goldies. This one just happens to be a gold chrome Dodge Charger, 1968. Going around there, doing his thing. No entiendo o inglés, disculpe. Hola.
Ah. Soda bomb.
So he's going to race.
No.
I mean, he wants us to race.
Yes. You said ask me, you shall receive. Okay, well, and then which car do you want? Let's see.
Let's get him a good one.
You can pick which one. Let us know, or you want to give him a choice. You want to.
Yeah.
So Toto Bomb is using channel points. So Keith
That's cool.
is part of the song. Would you sing like a little bit of that song that includes Keith?
The guitar song.
Yeah. Because he's redeemed for channel points for Keith. So.
19:59. Chevrolet Impala. Volkswagen de alemán con croma y número de Herbie. Ah. J-Car de Ford. Azul croma Dodge Charger.
Here,
Fusca. So está dando línea contra. Ah, sí. Pero ¿cuál te gustó? Chevrolet Chevelle Yenko. ¿Cuál te gustó? 1957 Chevrolet. Volkswagen Desert Herbie. ¿Cuál? Fusca. Geman. Ah, diga. Volkswagen. Volkswagen. See? Okay. You're riding the Volkswagen. Sim. It is.
here we go.
So,
You got me on the board, Totobon.
okay, babe.
So I figured like we could do a poll and have people like determine on a scale of like 1 to 5 the level of difficulty they think this track is. Because to me this is more a precision track. There, and clearly that's on this track that's a spot that's a higher level of difficulty.
Let's go.
I think you're going backwards. No. There we go. Glad you're back. I hope Gigi's had a good summer. I hope you've had a good summer.
Amen. I hope we've all had a good summer.
Yeah. Or is it winter? That's right. I guess has it been kind of cold for you guys?
No, not yet.
Yeah, they're in the southern hemisphere. Gigi was saying it was cold. But you
Right,
know,
but
like
it's
don't
not-
think about it.
It's not extreme like Australia.
Or cool.
Yeah.
Well, they keep talking about the El Nino, which I guess is supposed to bring more moisture to the south.
Spanish for the Nino. Okay, man.
Good.
Good. What did you say? Ah, muito bom. It's kind of like saying good. Nope, that's wrong.
This car is
I think
stiff.
I'm gonna lube it up a little bit because it's not running very good. Okay, forward, babe. I know what that means, but it's not coming to mind. Oh, hello. It's alive.
Slow it down. See, I feel like I'm going really slow.
It's gotta get used to it.
Yeah, this is my first car for today on the track, so
In a while.
it's a thrill for today. I haven't raced in a while.
You should be good.
Yeah, GONK KING was just talking a little bit about the electricity. I just have a hard time understanding the different electrical quality, but there's definitely that's part of the hobby, is the whole electrical component.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Now this car does hug the track better.
The Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that loop does help. It's a little fishtail.
Oh yeah.
So do you know when Gigi's coming back on? Does he have a schedule yet? We've been getting more regular here. We need to place a formal ad. Things just seem to be going really slow these days, though. A lot of things I'd like to do, but that's definitely on the list. I wanted to make sure that the schedule is going to work, and so we've been pretty consistent.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We've been running the
Working
cars
on
since
being more
Christmas.
precise on time.
That spot. Oh, there it is. Oh, dang it. Is that warming up for you?
Yeah. The question is, am I warming up?
You should be good.
Yow! Still a work in process.
Oh, he still has issues with his equipment apparently.
Oh man, it's like
Feast or famine?
such an ongoing issue.
Yes.
I think anybody that streams should appreciate what really does go into this. You know, we've definitely had our struggles and challenges on why we've had gaps, over these last years. Our hearts have been into it, but life has happened. So we're grateful for every moment we could do this,
Amen.
but especially the music.
Keep
King Cobra 74 says, "Oh my God, it is so much work." Yeah, from each step has been a learning process. Starting with like good internet, you know. We
Right.
didn't have good internet. The music certainly. And then we had audio issues. Trying to figure that out. Then we had a place, then we didn't have a place. You know? I mean, there are those basic details. You know, how many people have stories of these times? The ongoing saga.
The saga continues.
Dun, dun, dun. Q.
Q.
Q. Totobone. Redeemed Q.
Oh, Q.
So again, that's like one of the songs. Hugh and Keith, some of those other ones, correlate with some of the original songs that GONK King has out. So he does an Elvis song. I don't know. Can you do a little?
Say, all that hoes rushing, but I have fallen in love with Hugh. Hugh? Who's Hugh?
That's a work in process.
You got a floor, babe. You hardly running.
I'm multitasking. That's the issue.
I saw ya. It's good.
That's a nice singer, by the way.
Thanks, man. There I had it's nice racing. You know I have a better Volkswagen than that. That's all they wanted.
This is warming up. So am I. So many levels of challenges with this hobby.
A little bit.
You know. There we go. off the track. Yeah, King Cobra 74, I think we were talking about how there's so much involved. For me, it's the video editing. You know, now we have some footage. And taking the time to do all that and still make a living and trying to balance that out. King Cobra 74 says, you guys are great. I need to stream for a friend in Norway I met a month ago that wants to see me. LOL, it's so late. Are you streaming like now? You know, it's pretty cool how we're like bridging time zones here.
Awesome.
Streaming around the world. I think it's pretty cool. So
Very
we
cool.
appreciate your support.
Amen.
You know, Toda Bomb down in Brazil.
Brasil.
East Coast USA. Yeah. We grew up on the East Coast.
Yeah,
Now
that's
we're
where this
what-
hobby comes from, way out back in the day.
From where?
The East Coast.
Hicksville.
Ron Conquema.
I was commuting on the Long Island Railroad during 9/11.
Ronco Coma.
We all have our stories. Well, I hope you have a good stream. It is really late.
For the East Coast, yeah, I had 3 hours.
How do you say your name? Sayuki.
Oh, Mikimoto-san.
Yeah. Nebraska, Texas,
Sayuri.
Maryland, Virginia. What is it?
Sayuri.
Are you streaming for Sayuri? Yeah, I enjoy supporting her, being on her channel. It's a lot of fun. Because I know she's in Norway. At least that's what she says, so I believe her. I think I've seen you on her channel, right? You know, because we were on that other Strima. You would probably say that better than me.
What? Streamer. That one's yours there.
Oh. I've had some subs of Sayuri's. I don't know right now, but I like her emotes too.
She's a good singer too. I mean, mostly.
Yeah, she puts on an entertaining show. And then there's community.
Kind of like
and
Red
it's,
Lee.
it's,
She's like Red Lee-ish.
yeah, some of the times are off. I know she streams. Red Lee streams on Twitch. But we don't get over there as often. No, that's Heidi Glenn.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. She's a VIP for the channel. Need to make sure Sayuri is too.
Yeah, I thought she
She is.
was.
Nebraska, Texas, Maryland, and Virginia. Oh, good. Go ahead, Toda Bomb. Oh, dude. Sorry to hear that. For whatever it's worth, if you worked with any occupational therapists, because that's actually what I do for a living is occupational therapy. I actually worked more with kids. I haven't worked with MS too much, but definitely in that whole neurological realm of things. So that's some personal information, maybe a little TMI on my behalf, but like I said, we all have these stories. I'm glad to hear you're doing content. You've been looking for like a channel? Yeah, I thought he was gonna start back up on mornings. We're streaming more often too. Oh, okay. God is great.
No problema, todo bom. Thank you for seeking us out.
Yeah, seriously.
God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Amen to that.
Yeah, King Cobra, we were off for, actually it was about 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
There was about 2 years there that we couldn't do it.
Well,
And so, we're back.
that platform, we were on a platform for almost 3 years, and then they just up and stopped. So we moved to Twitch at the hub of the end of 2022, and then we got displaced. So we couldn't stream. I think there was a few times we tried to stream, and we brought the drums somewhere undisclosed and streamed a couple of times, and then people found out. They were like, man, I hear drums. So we couldn't do it anymore. We had a couple of shows in the interim where we would stream, but that was it. We've only been streaming music. It's been just north of a year now at the place we're at now, and thank God we're here. So we're doing pretty good.
I see your message, Tonabon.
Oh no. I always feel bad for Gigi. He's so talented, but he's always had gear issues,
Well,
We had the same issues.
yeah, that's what we can relate.
But as soon as he gets something going on, something blows up or whatever, it's like, dang it. Obrigado. You're so very welcome. Vaquinha. Well, thank you for sharing the message, Tolobom. Obrigado.
Yeah, we'll reach out to Gigi.
And thank you, King Cobra, for hanging out with us as well. It's nice to know that we got a handful of people slowly but surely developing to where watching us stream, whether it's layouts or music, it's their happy place.
Yeah, we appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much.
I like a happy place. I do.
King Cobra 74, have you worked with any OTs or occupational therapists, or maybe that's
Physical
personal, you don't have
therapist.
to answer. I'm just curious, like I was saying before. Sorry, that's one of my things, is I do ask a lot of questions. Once again, I'm just putting up, that's the music schedule. And then at this time on Sunday nights, weekly, that's when we're doing these. Well, Gigi's our brother, for sure, so. I've always had a special connection with Brazil, too. So it's
Looking to
no
go there
surprise.
someday. Looking forward to it.
Well, you know, I've wanted to go to Brazil, but any more these days, and getting older has been really kind of tricky, you know? And just from a safety standpoint, I'm fine just being home,
Sure.
you know? And that's why this is so cool to be able to do this internationally. We can still be a part of each other's lives, it's just different now. Yours feels looser than mine.
I don't know, I had yours on my lane a moment ago and it was pretty quick.
Well, this track is forcing me to slow down, and when I drive, I like to go fast, which is why, what is my rule?
Cruise queen, baby.
Never let me drive a Camaro again in my life. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm serious, because I did that when I was like a young adult, and I just went way too fast.
So you're,
So it's the same issue. You gave to the bottom of that stuff.
nice. Yeah, King Cobra's a sub, right? I thought he was a VIP.
Both.
Nice.
It's probably getting close to the end of that. I figured it's really early there. This is 1:39 in Brazil. It was a pleasure being here with you and seeing you all again.
Amen.
Seeing this wonderful slot car project. We call it, that's Aurora Autorama. You know, that toy car track. Sending you a big hug and lots of blessings. I'm off to get some sleep now. I'm so glad you came by, and hopefully now you know more of our schedule, and hopefully we'll see you around. And yeah, I'll reach out to Gigi. I'm sorry to hear. But like I said, God is good, and we can just put some prayers out about that. So, you know, here's to some good sleep.
Amen. Obrigado.
Sending you lots of love. Thank you.
Obrigado. Todo bom. Hermanito.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
Mille grazie.
So you got me on the table, too. Got me racing.
You got me racing.
How about a different car?
Y'all got me racing.
How about a different car? Us too. What does that mean?
Yeah, buona noite. Good night.
No, the one before.
Fikem bem. Like it's all good.
Amen. Sleep well.
There you go.
We'll see you around. This is one of my favorites. I like the blue color like you were talking about before. Yeah, I got stuck over there.
Yeah, that pin's worthless.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's try that.
Yeah, feels better.
Yeah, I need good pins. Yeah, the pin on that one ought to be okay, yes? No.
Yeah, it feels like it's good. I just have to be a lot more careful on this track.
What we need to do is find you Greenie.
Find me who?
Greenie. Or maybe this guy. Try this guy.
Ooh. Already I can tell that's a lot smoother. I'm learning. Yeah. Almost got me on that one.
The fishtailing. Fishy the fishtailing.
snagged.
Snagged.
Is there a lot of play in that controller, or are you just going slow?
I'm just going slow. Maybe it is getting a little tight. Huh? It is getting a little. Once you feel it.
A little hot, yeah.
Maybe I'll pause.
Get a pause.
I'm gonna pause it.
Three. Well, thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Tolobon, for the nice visit do Brasil. And thank you, King Cobra 74, for hanging out with us. It's an honor and a pleasure to have people from all walks of life, from all around the world, coming to hang out with us here on the Dr. Stunderjet show.
And if you're still there, good luck with your stream.
Yes, amen to
We'll,
that.
we'll try to
Pop
seek
in.
you out. Yeah, at least say hello. Cause a little trouble. But have a good stream. I'm glad you're able to do it. Getting older is something. Send you love back. Thank you for sharing this journey with us.
Amen. Aw. Thank you so much, King Cobra. It's a blessing indeed. Thank you for hanging out with us. We love you too.
Oh wow.
East alone.
What time are you streaming tomorrow? At least you can get some sleep. I don't know, I'm a night owl, so I kind of like to be up at later on. Dealing with time zones very interesting. I actually have a hard time with the time zones.
No, you know how it works. Add an hour plus 12 or minus 12. You know, it's the same old stuff. No,
Hey, you want to explain the Methodist to me? I don't think I get it. So you were sitting on the couch when the hustle and bustle kicked in, and
Are you a mod for her? I think I've seen that name, but...
Who?
Strano?
oh, no, I didn't catch if that's who it was.
You playing music? Guess we'll have to go find out. You guys collabing?
collaborate
fascinating, the connections.
and cohabitate.
I'm happy for you. Will you make some clips? It's like an ever-evolving, like, depth of what we can do with these online and with this track, music.
Yep.
See, I'm from New York, so I'm not a little pushy. At least I can admit it.
What's wrong with that?
Over there.
Over there, you over there.
I was over there.
It's a good thing.
Well, I hope you have a good stream.
Amen to that.
Enjoy it. Something is about the practice. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Oh, that's so cool. Feels really good, doesn't it? Definitely blessing. So it's been 9 years. So dare I say, you've been around this arena for quite some time. We came on at Twitch in 23. So it's been about like 3.5 years.
We came on at the end of 22.
End of 22. Yeah, he became affiliated, I think it was like January 2nd of 23.
Yep, and then we got displaced.
But we were on a platform before, I don't know if have heard about it, so that's why there's some people that we know from there that just, we all got ripped off together, so it kind of became a bonding experience.
Amen.
Yes, Sessions. Were you on Sessions? GONK King was born after Sessions. Yeah, Sessions Live. That was an interesting platform. Kinda helped prep us for Twitch. But yeah, we met a bunch of people that are still streaming, so that's part of our story. It's nice.
My hands are becoming desensitized or something.
It's very kind of you. You know, I think one of the hardest parts on this whole process has been, as you recognized early on, you know, just disappointing that GONK King is so gifted with what he does, you know, and we're just kind of amazed and disappointed that more people aren't coming around to benefit, you know, in that's kind of my saga about the whole thing. But it is what it is, and I trust it's in God's hands, you know. So the fact you come around and support us like you do,
Oh, amen. Amen.
yeah, just, you know.
It's an honor, seriously. Our little ragtag tag team of bros. Say that 3 times.
So thanks for sharing and all this, you know.
Amen.
And as a streamer, you have a inside understanding as well. Well, thank you. I appreciate that acknowledgement because, you know, we just look at each other sometimes like, man, that was good. You know? Well, and thanks for you saying it's professional too. I mean,
Oh, thank you
we
so much.
try. Uh-oh. Nope.
Oh, wow. Thank you so
man.
much.
Thank you. We appreciate
Yes.
the generosity.
Thank you so much. King Cobra 7-4, busting out on a couple of bits. Thank you so much. Well, you probably can attest to that too. Just having people around is really worth its weight in gold. Regulars, you know. Like Almira. We've known Almira for, what, 6 years? And
She was on sessions, yeah.
Kuya, Grand Kuya Ivan and Kuya Bart and all those, the late great Kuya Bart. Mumsy Bonnie, right? We've known them forever. Chris Pratt. Oh, you were just talking about that. Sayuri-san.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Amen. I think the more people can sort of just get along and get to know each other, the better, you know. That's my take on it. And when we do this outside show coming up in precisely 2 weeks minus a few hours, I think you're really going to be happy to see people in real life, in real time, going, hey, you know, this guy's okay. And I'll be like, see, King Cobra 7-4 was absolutely right.
Yeah, we're gonna stream that show live.
Yes.
At least that's the plan, you know.
So ironically enough, it'll be the same time as the regular show on a Sunday.
That's right, 2 weeks from today.
Yep. Like I said, minus a few hours. That's backwards. Anyway, it must have went bad. Oh, nice. Oh, Ivan's your bro too. Heck yeah. Even there, I said Ivan, right? We've known Ivan for.
Yeah.
And he's also a really excellent guitarist. And he's got a couple of guitars. And the stuff that he plays, all that popular folk music, you know, like Jim Croce and all that, he's really good.
Well, yeah, he can freaking shred too, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No doubt. Kuya Ivan can shred. He's a monster.
He's a really sweet man.
Amen to that.
And he can shred.
And he can shred.
So we know some of the same people.
Oh, there was quite a few back in the day. All the Blue Jeans and all the mother and daughter and father and daughter and what was that active people that we used to hang out with, and the guy had a really low voice. They were like husband and wife act, and they played.
Oh, Lisa DeValier.
Well, also.
She doesn't stream on Twitch, unfortunately. But, you know, we're connected on Instagram, and her and her husband, Roy, I think they both play the sax.
Oh,
he plays the piano. She's written stuff. Bluesy.
She's a heck of a blues singer.
Yeah.
Like blues, like Ella Fitzgerald blues.
No, not Sid. But Sid's all part of it.
Yep.
We're talking about Lisa DeValier, out in the Philippines. But yeah, that whole group, yeah, we're part of that group.
Yeah, Mama Stella, Mumsy Bonnie, Ray, Zoki.
Soki, she streams on Twitch. Oh, and Rice.
Edie Bart, yeah, Rice de Guzman.
Edie Bart. Tony Miller Band.
Tony Miller.
Yeah, I think because we were on sessions.
From South America.
When we were on sessions, and then they just closed up, and you know we lost about $90. So she's hilarious. Her and GONK King have a special connection, and she comes in and she likes the Beatles. But yeah, just having that connection with sessions and then it all just disappearing. You know, to me, it's just an extra bonding experience. So that's where we know a lot of these peeps.
Judith Delgado, that's the gal like.
Judith Delgado.
We've known her forever. There's a hole in my Judith Delgado.
I always like that song.
Dear life.
Yeah, I chose, you know, part of all this is figuring out what communities and platforms, you know, and I ended up deciding not to go on Discord. So I guess that was Totobomb that was talking about Discord. I was trying to do more on Facebook, but the bottom dropped out of that. I mean, we're still connected on Facebook and Instagram. YouTube and Twitch, those are really our platforms. Because it gets to be too much. Yeah. Yeah, we lost $90 from that.
At least.
And it was just, it was more about having contests. And, I don't think we ever did win a contest. I don't know.
We got close.
Yeah. So, you know, trying to make any money has been, well, you know, I just figured it would be bringing more in. But we're still working it.
Working it.
I think it's from a bunch of different sources. We're working on merch. That's a whole project in and of itself.
Well, we have some good ideas for it, anyway.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good ideas. Step by step.
Like we were talking about, there's not a lot of places to play locally, and they become less so.
That makes me want to cry.
What's that?
Look at the bits he gave us.
Wow. Good Lord. Thank you so much.
Well, I feel bad for even talking about money, and yet I do appreciate it. and the acknowledgement that GONK King has got something special.
I'm trying. I can't wait till it gets cooler because it'll be easier to play. It's easier to put a hoodie on and sing a couple of Christmas songs or Halloween songs than it is to play in the summertime where it's really hot.
Yeah, we'll do some holiday shows. At least, you know, God willing.
Well, that's what happened this last year. We had everything dialed in and we made one Christmas show that Miss GK was good enough to be able to film so we could play it but we couldn't do any newer, secular holiday stuff. So, but we were looking forward to doing that, and then our equipment went bad, so we're gonna be rocking it this year. Like, not every day, but close to. What do you think? Around
Looking
Christmas,
forward to it.
around Christmas, more track and more singing.
We'll see how things unfold. I have like more ambitious ideas than what is able to like come to its full fruition these days. It seems like, grateful for whatever we can do.
Amen.
Maybe that sounds kind of negative.
No, it's not. It's realistic.
That's why it's a blessing every moment we can kind of share together.
You're a real peach cake, you know that?
Macy Ray. Do you know Macy Ray, King Cobra 74? She's a dear heart. She can really sing. And
That's right. She was on sessions back in the day too, and she can sing like Cher, like exactly. The sound, it's just like Cher. I feel.
yeah, kind of a deeper voice.
No, like
Harold.
The energy of her voice, the sonic properties, is very Cher-ish.
Yeah. So we can call him Harold.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Harold.
It's nice to meet you
Indeed.
and be a recipient of your generosity
Also,
and an acknowledgement for the music. He pulled out the spinners. I almost fell over. I remember my sister actually. We listened to music all the time growing up. I have musicians in my family, so it came naturally. And I just loved the spinners and those tunes, and he started playing them. I'm like, oh my goodness, that stuff is so great. So I'm like, bring it, because I love it. And I've been really inhibited dancing for a good part of my life, but as I've gotten older, it's like, let it rip,
really good at it.
So it's just so much fun and so desperately needed.
Amen. Thank you.
Ooh, just a little too much fishtail.
Usually it doesn't happen like that. Doesn't over fishtail, it wipes out. It'll wipe out before it fishtail. Now that's a proper drift. Inner lane comes up and it's just like that.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Well, this 275 is definitely quicker than the 250.
right in front of me. That's about right. That was gonna go around a little better than that. Two little woodies going around the track, huh?
Two what?
Little woodies going around the track.
Yeah. It's the Woody Woodpecker's day.
I liked Woody the Woodpecker. You're like amazing at remembering all that, all those cartoons.
Yeah, it's, all that period where the cartoons were coming out in like the 30s and 40s. They all had that. Everything sounded like Count Basie and Glenn Miller, you know. So there's a connection because of the music.
Shtick.
Yeah, like. Spider-Man, right? I mean, that's
Well, I
like
read
jazz.
Spider-Man too. How did that go?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Well, now I've finally gotten Spider-Pig in my head.
I know, right?
And now it's... That took me a little while.
Spider-Pig, Spider-Pig, does whatever a spider-pig does. Can you walk from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out.
No, it's Spider-Pig.
Mr. Jameson, the character, I forgot that. All he did was grit his teeth, and he had this little mustache, and he had like white wall buzz cut, and he would just be like, "Hey kid!" like all day long. That's what he did. It's like, "Yes, Mr. Jameson, what do you need?" "Hey kid!"
King Colt 74 is cracking up with us about Spider-Pig.
Yep.
Hilarious. That was me losing track of which car I had.
This is kind of blue, and one's kind of
Yeah.
yellow, and pink.
Ooh. Just cruising on by.
These are big Chevy panel trucks. It's kind of like the first official pickup and the first official box truck like this. Pretty massive for the day. 1955.
It's alright.
Just when you think you could relax. when you go up the on-ramp too fast, Keith.
As long as it's not a Camaro.
Right. Something tells me after all these years, I bet you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I'd love it. Maybe on a racetrack.
I think we need to get you something safer. These are top heavy. You get a Roadrunner.
And immediately
Immediately wipes out.
That's the way
All
to do it. This guy is fast, slick. I definitely have to look out for this one.
Right.
But I can also feel a bit of the centripetal force.
Centrifugal, yeah.
You know, once it gets going, it kind of hugs the track.
Definitely has an issue with that new metal pin. Everything needs to be broken in.
This is old school gaming.
Yep. Alright, so it's good thing you're off.
I agree.
You're gonna shove off.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
Somebody trying to plunder.
That's all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be signing off coming up here at the top of the hour, and we thank everybody for hanging out with us, and thank you so much, King Cobra 7-4, not only for the bits, but just being with us. And we hope to see everybody on Tuesday for our music streams, one at 12:30 West Coast time, and the other one at 8:30 p.m. West Coast time. And thank you once again for hanging out with us, and we will see you all on Tuesday. And thank you once again, King Cobra and Tolobom and everyone else hanging out with us wherever you are in the world. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to entertain and make stuff happen. Thank you so much wherever you are in the world. And thank you, Miss GK, for making stuff happen. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all on Tuesday. Once again, we really appreciate everyone's hanging out with us and so on.
Good luck with the streaming, King
And
Cobra
good luck
74.
with the streaming.
We'll look out for that channel. That name does ring a faint bell, so we'll keep an eye out and send good vibes your way about the streaming. You'll have to let us know.
Amen.
Savor the blessings of these times.
Saving
You know?
whatever blessings we can get. Well, once again, thank you everybody, and we'll see you on Tuesday at approximately 12:30 West Coast time, and we will see you then. And thank you once again, King Cobra, and everyone else hanging out with us. We will see you then. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Come on. It's hard to be jamming out right now. It's hard to tell from day to day when we'll be headed out. You never know what's going on in this crazy, lazy world today. All I know is I can't wait to get back out and play. Wanna see the people clapping, dancing, grinning, smiling and laughing, having the time of their life again and again, dancing and jamming. The road, can't take it, we're off the road, we're off the road, can't play it, we're off the road, we're off the road, can't see it, just gotta wait, back on the road is where I can't wait to be, oh yeah! It doesn't seem so long we were jamming out all night, playing them drums and bass or guitar, singing it out just right, making them people wanna dance all through the night. Wanna see the people clapping, dancing, grinning, smiling and laughing, having the time of their life again and again, dancing and jamming. see the people clapping, dancing, grinning, smiling and laughing, having the time of their life, again and again, dancing and jamming. We're off the road, can't take it, we're off the road. That's right. We're off the road, can't play it, just got to wait. We're off the road, can't see it, just can't wait. I'm back on the road, is where I can't wait to be. Can't wait to be. Dance with me, baby. Dance with me. So you think you